Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IS Academy. With this video, we continue with our economic survey series in which we are analyzing each and every chapter in detail. So here we'll take up the 7th chapter, that is on the services sector, talking about from stability to new frontiers. Stability to new frontier means right now in the services sector there is quite stability with respect to a good amount of growth rate that we have, but we want to move on to new frontiers, higher growth rate and expansion of our services sector globally as such. Before that, we will also look at the important terms that is mentioned. There is one important term in this chapter, not just in this chapter, it is present in other chapters as well. We'll take it up over here and then we move on to the detailed analysis. So the very first thing that we look up is about the terms and definition. So all these words that are being used here in the economic survey, they have called it the high frequency indicators. So what is high frequency indicator? See, the economy, to understand how the economy is doing, how much is the growth, what is happening in the economy, you analyze, you calculate, you get the data. What you need is data, right? However, certain data will come after a long delay, after a long gap. Take for example the annual survey of industries, ASI. Of course it's done annually, but its data comes with a lag of 2 years. So right now, if you check in your most updated book of 2025 that you would have been having right now in 2026, because the 2026 edition might yet to become. So the 2025 edition will have the 2023 annual survey of industries in it, because the data comes with a lag of 2 years. Now, in the same manner, there are other data as well which has a lag to it, and on a yearly basis they generally come. But then what is this high frequency data? See, because the data is coming with a delay, with a lag after a year, coming in a yearly manner, it will become difficult for you to estimate certain things, so you will have to wait. If you want an estimation quickly, then you will have to rely on high frequency data. High frequency data means data whose frequency is high. Now when I say frequency high, so as I said, certain data are coming on a yearly basis. That means they are once in a year. So this is a low frequency data. But if I say consumer price index, wholesale price index, they come on a monthly basis. So since they are coming on a monthly basis, they are there 12 times in a year, right? Now remember, the WPI wholesale price index used to previously come on a weekly basis, but the government came with a notification saying that it is not feasible to bring it out on a weekly basis, so we will change its frequency to monthly. So it's been over a decade that WPI is also coming on a monthly basis only. In your UPSC, there was a question that was asked. At that time it was still on a weekly basis. That is why in your solution you may get to know that it's on a weekly basis, but that was over a decade back. Right now WPI is also on a monthly basis, plus there are other data which gets updated on a weekly basis, on a daily basis also. They get updated, the air passenger, the freight passenger, the freight that is there through railways, the air freight, the air cargo, the shipping cargo, etc. They get updated quite frequently. So these data which has a high frequency of availability are known as the high frequency data. So this is the definition. It is the economic data points released at a short interval, either daily, weekly or monthly. Now what they do is this help us track the current state of the economy in almost a real time manner. Now there has been a lot of such data mentioned in the economic survey. They will give you a table, above that they will write high frequency data. So all these high frequency data are here. You have the PMI services which we will see in this chapter, port traffic, air cargo, railway freight traffic, hotel occupation rate, e-way bill generation which is required for GST, e-way bill generation, right? If you want to transport goods worth more than 50,000 rupees for a distance more than 10 kilometers, you have to generate the e-way bill. Then index of industrial production, then the 8 core industries data, then PMI. This is purchasing managers index, which is brought out separately for the services and the manufacturing. Then steel consumption, cement production, so on and so forth. IAP for infra and construction. Then you have the non-food bank credit, capital goods imports, capacity utilization, so on and so forth. You have the UPI transactions, FMCG sales. FMCG is fast moving consumer goods, passenger vehicle, domestic air passenger, FMCG volume sales, two-wheeler sales, three-wheeler sale, tractor sale. All these sales are also high frequency data. Basically, any data point in economy which comes at a high frequency, either daily, weekly or monthly, is a high frequency data, else it's not. It can be literally anything. So let's now move ahead with the detailed analysis of this particular chapter. So this is the very first graph or the histogram that is given in this chapter. Talks about India's services share in GDP. It strengthens in line with the global trend. Now globally also the share of services has actually increased in the GDP, which you can clearly see. It has increased in China, UK, the world also, European Union as well as United States of America. Almost 80% in United States of America is the services sector. In India also there has been an increase. So this is what it talks about. As I said, the data is either from the government sources or reputed international sources, for example the World Bank, right? Next is the resilient and steady. India's services GVA is what they are talking about. GVA is basically the gross value added. It is outperforming the global trends. Now here there is pre-COVID average, right? Pre-COVID average, and then you have the very recent one. So pre-COVID and the recent, when you subtract the recent from the pre-COVID, you will get the deviation. So the deviation for China is 3.1. Why? Because China was growing at 8% pre-COVID, but in 2024 they grew by 5%. So there is a deviation of almost 3% over there. Same is the case with USA. USA was growing at a faster pace, wherein right now they are stabilized. So there is a negative deviation. The world is also seeing deviation. European Union, UK. For India also there is a deviation. However, you can clearly see that our deviation is less than the countries that are selected here by the economic survey. Correct? Let's move ahead. Let's talk about the services global FDI. So it says that rising concentration in energy and communication services post-pandemic. So this is a pie chart, talks about pre-COVID and post-COVID. So if you look at pre-COVID, you had the energy and gas supply 27%. Now energy and gas supply has literally almost become half. Information and communication technology, which was third, and construction was second and this was third. Now you have construction third and information technology second. Construction is actually third. Transportation and storage has also declined, and the others there is a quite less amount here. Why? Because of huge increase in the energy and gas supply is what is being said. Next is this graph or this histogram talks about the services sector driving the urban employment. Now the thing is, urbanization, if you look at, urbanization is happening, either it happens because of industrialization or due to service sector led growth. Now if you look at the countries of the West, you talk about UK, you talk about England. Why we are taking England as the example? Because it is the country where the industrial revolution first initiated, right? So what happens is, in UK what happened is, they had agriculture. They will have agricultural produce. They will have a season of around 3 to 3 months, wherein it will be snow, you cannot venture out, so you can do work at home. So these agricultural produce was being processed inside the household. For example, cotton getting converted into yarn. But there was a technological advancement in the agricultural sector, because of which the production increased, because of which the households were unable to process this, because of which there was a need of the industries to be set up. Now when these industries started setting up, it was very easy for them to get the labor for industries, because the agriculture labor was not getting paid much. So they will slightly increase their salary, their payment, so as to attract these agricultural laborers into the industries. But they faced an issue. What was that issue? Now these industries were quite far, because there will be farmland, so on and so forth. So industries will be sort of away. So the person from here needs to travel a lot over there, right? So basically the only way is you come over here, you stay over here. But the people would be managing to stay in some way, but returning back to their house, to their family. As a result of which the industry started providing accommodation to the laborers, the labor colony, etc. These concepts started coming up, so that the labor stays here, so that there is continuous availability of labor, so the labor can also bring their family and stay. Now when you have the industries and the labor colony, that means the people are setting up. Then what will happen? A lot of goods and service providers will come in order to sell their goods and services to these people, because the demand is increased, so supply will come. So you will find people selling their goods and services. There will be shops, there will be stores, etc., which will come up. As a result of which, what is happening here actually? It's leading to urbanization. So urbanization is what is happening. Why? Because of industrialization. So industrialization can lead to urbanization. I hope that's clear. Now that is what has also happened in the north and the eastern, or you can say northern part of India, the eastern part of India, in states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, etc. Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand specifically, where huge industries have come up, and that has led to industrial cities. That industrialization has led to urbanization. Correct. But then Indian urbanization has another feature to it. That is the service-led urbanization, which you see, let's say here in Bangalore, urbanization, service sector is prominent. Mumbai, service sector is prominent. So India's urbanization in a lot of regions have been service-led urbanization, and that understanding I wanted to give you. Now let us have a look at this graph, which says that the service sector is driving India's urban employment. So increase in the urban employment is due to the increase or the growth in the services sector. So this is the percentage of people employed in the tertiary, that is the services sector. So if you look at that, it is how much? It is more than 60%, which was here. It has slightly gone down, but it rose up, and it is almost at 62% of urban people are engaged in the services sector. Now, if I ask you a question here, that how much would be the minimum number or percentage of people in the industrial sector? No, the minimum percentage, without even knowing anything, you can understand that it will be minimum 13%. This is 62, minimum 13, so that a total becomes 75. Why this 75 is important? Because by the definition of us, for the definition of a city as per census 2011, the definition of census town says that 75% of the working male population should be engaged in non-agricultural activities. So it would be round about this, minimum this. Of course it says only male, but this data is of entire population, not just male and female. So this is the entire data. So a roundabout guess is this, but of course it will still be higher as such. So remember the definition of your census data. It says that minimum 75% of your male working age population needs to be employed in the non-agricultural area. Right. Now, because there will be certain areas which will have less than 75, they will not be classified as cities. And that is why the World Bank says that India has a huge number or huge percentage of hidden urbanization. Hidden urbanization means the regions are having urban features but not classified as urban area because of the stringent definition that is there. Okay, let's move ahead. The services continue to drive the net payroll addition. So if you talk about the EPFO, additional enrollment in EPFO, almost, in fact, more than half is because of the services sector. Next is the services PMI, Purchasing Manager Index, which is expanded higher than the long run average. Now, what is this Purchasing Managers Index? See, as we have discussed in the beginning, that the data comes with a lot of delay, right? In fact, the data comes after the thing has taken place. The annual survey of industry, the index of industrial production, the 8 core industries, the data is coming after the things are happening. So you need something which can help you forecast. That forecast is given by the Purchasing Managers Index. What it does is it basically surveys 500 purchasing managers and asks them the questions with respect to the inventory, the new orders, right, the purchase that they have done, in order to estimate how much will be the production. That gives you a indicator, tentative indicator of the coming month. It is released every month. So if it is released this month, it will be released for the next month. Data are generally released for the previous date, but here the data is released for the coming month. I hope that is clear. So this is the 10-year average of PMI services. Then if you talk, and this is the average of the new businesses and the new export businesses, right? So if you look at it, the new businesses in blue, new export businesses in orange, and green is the PMI. So new businesses has been at around 60. Right, then new export businesses, it has still been in, or let's say above 50, and the PMI services, of course, again is close to 60 only. It's beyond 50, which is a very good thing for us. Next is the growth of GCCs. What is GCCs? These are your global capability centers. Global capability centers, the higher they are, the better it will be. So the amount of revenue that is coming, it has increased by almost 10% compound annual growth rate in this financial year 19 to financial year 24. The number of GCCs have increased from 1.43 to 1.70, right? So this, now look at this, you need to also understand here CAGR is more than 5, it's close to 10, so they give CAGR. Here also they give CAGR. Now here the total increase is around 20% only. So if you look at in terms of CAGR, it is lesser than 5%. So the number may not look good. So what economic survey does is it gives it as 1.2x. Now why I am telling you this? It is required for you to understand how to present things in your mains. Of course, there you will not be trying to manipulate or give a psychological positivity with respect to something that is negative. Absolutely not. What I am trying to say is, if you have a statistics, let's say you have a statistic saying that 20% of children are suffering from hunger or go to bed hungry. Instead of saying that, you can say 1 in every 5 children sleep hungry at night. So 1 in 5 is more relatable, gives a higher impact on your mind, right? So it will be more impactful in your answers. So when you are jotting down certain facts specifically to write in the mains, don't write them as it is that you have got. Convert them into interesting connotations and then write. So there has been an increase, definitely, no doubt about it. Then this is the snapshot of the Gen AI, that is generative AI startup landscape. What is generative AI? See, AI can analyze the data that is given, but generative AI can generate things on its own. That is what Gen AI is all about. So cumulative startups have considerably increased. Cumulative funding has also increased. If I ask you without showing the graph that which state do you think would have the highest number of generative AI startups, what would be the answer? Karnataka, right? Bangalore, they say, is the Silicon Valley of India. So Bangalore will have huge concentration of those generative AI startups. So the state of Karnataka will be leading in that, and second will be the state of Maharashtra. So let us have a look at this distribution of generative AI startups in percentage. So if you talk about percentage, all the generative AI startups you have seen, almost 40%. 39% is coming from the state of Karnataka. You have around 14% coming from the state of Maharashtra. So more than half just from these two states. Then you have Delhi, Telangana, Haryana, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and others combined are just 15% over here. Hope that's clear. And now this is the distribution of funding by focus area. So you have infra model, which basically takes up the highest. Then you have the applications, and then last is the services. Majorly the infrastructure and the models is what is they're consuming it. I hope that's clear. Let's move ahead. The increased household savings in the form of physical assets. So household savings in the form of physical asset, as per the quantum or the quantity, the household savings as per in form of physical asset is increasing, but as a percentage of GDP is declining because GDP is increasing at a faster pace. That's all this graph talks about. So savings in physical assets, if you look at, the savings in physical assets has increased. But because our GDP has also increased, so if you look at savings in physical asset as percent of GDP, then there has been a decline from 15.9% in financial year 12 to 12.8% in financial year 24. But the overall in rupees, in lakh crore rupees, the savings was around 15 lakh crore in financial year 12. It increased to almost 40 lakh crore in financial year 2024. So this is the economic survey also mentioned that the service sector is the driver for Indian economy's growth. So stay tuned with Legacy IAS Academy for future chapters which are coming your way quickly. Thank you.